So hello, this feels so amazing to be here today. And earlier on, just realized how perfect Gene Key 2 is actually for this process and this like receiving energy of Gene Key 2, the pure receptive energy. So what we're going to do today is do an attunement. And this process we're in, these Venus star points that we're going to be doing, creating this five-pointed star, like the Vesuvian woman, like a light grid in our aura, which is already there, really. So what we're going to be doing is bringing more light into it and kind of consciously awakening the grid. And I know some of you have done the Venus star point before, so this will be a kind of another layer of that. So yeah, we'll do an attunement, and then for this particular one, the first one, I've got a presentation that just shows us what a Venus star point is. And I know some of you already know that, but if you can just kind of be in the field of maybe receiving the information in a new way through my perception. Yeah, so let's see where that takes us. And then we can talk about, and I'm going to show you how to find your Venus star points. Now, I think most of you here already have them. I've done them for Lee, and I've done them for Tara and Danny as well, because I don't think they had theirs. But if anyone wants help with that, please ask and I can do it. And yeah, so I've done it in the traditional way, so that the astrologer who developed this did it. But what will happen most of the weeks is that we will have a week to contemplate. So this week ahead, we will contemplate the head Venus star point, which is our main one. And then next week, Tina's going to do the first meditation that will take us into the left hand. And so we will have a meditation to connect us to the energy, and then we will talk about our contemplation for the week and share maybe what realizations have come to us. So that's what most of the weeks will be, a kind of opening meditation, and the rest of the time will be sharing and time for questions and whatever. But it's mostly about our experience of the actual gene keys that we will have in these positions. And if you feel open to it, another kind of thing I'd like to do, because I'm already noticing doing Lee, Danny, and Tara's gene keys, the patterns of the group. So because these Venus star points, they happen every 9.5 months, they also have a kind of collective story. So I'm quite interested if we can perceive the collective story. So to begin that off, if you can put in the chat, if you know what your Venus star point head point is, we can put it in there. I'm going to put mine, I think it's 41, mine too. I know it's definitely 41 anyway. Okay.
Alison, sorry, is that the first one you gave me then?
Yes, yeah, it should say head.
Okay, head Venus star. Okay, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's do the attunement. I know I've just told you to write in the chat and I'm saying something else, but yeah, if you want to write first, and then we'll kind of just settle into being here. Ah, wonderful to be in this Venus group energy, inviting Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, of this uplifting energy of civilization into more powerfully into our aura. So let's begin first by creating a five-pointed star. Venus creates these five-pointed stars as she comes into union with the sun. So if you imagine the first star, either in our head or above our head, wherever it feels right for you to place that star, and just consciously ignite the energy of our head. If you know the gene key, bring the gift or the Siddhic frequency to mind. And then let's bring a line down, a line of light down to the left hand. This is, if you're right-handed, this is our receiving hand. So igniting a light in the left hand. You might see it as an orb or just light in the hand, whatever feels right to you. Notice any sensation, any tingling. In this moment, in this process we're in, we're opening ourselves to receiving. So let's imagine now this light going down to our receiving foot, our left foot. Igniting that light, noticing where the light wants to be, in the foot, under it, over it, all around it. Our receiving foot becoming activated. Now we're going to take the light over to the right foot. The giving foot, the foot that steps forward, takes our inner yang, all that it has been received, takes it out in the yang energy out into the world. So ignite the light around your right foot. Let's ensure the lines of light between each of the points is also activated. And then we'll bring the light up to the right hand, the giving hand. creating an energy field between the two hands, even flow of giving and receiving. As that might appear as an infinity symbol or an orb. Just notice what's going on in your own aura as you create this geometry, co-creating with Venus. And then finally bringing the light back to the head point again. So we have this very clear five-sided figure, can create a star within that, Vesuvian woman. Just noticing any adjustments that want to be made in your light body grid. And knowing also that as we go through this process, our own practice of contemplation, the group field will naturally correct as much as it can of our energy flow of receiving and giving. And becoming aware that we are the center of a great ecosystem on Earth. We are all intricately woven into this flow of reciprocity, really feeling that unity with all of creation. And it always is lying behind our mind's perception of ourselves as a separate being. So we want to celebrate our uniqueness, our creativity, and always knowing that we're part of this much vaster energy field, and that we can unblock the flow. And if it feels right to you, really state to yourself that your intention in these 5 weeks is to unblock anything that is blocking you receiving and giving fully of your own gifts. But all the strengthening or the courage or the inspiration, guidance we need to do that will arrive in our path easily and effortlessly. So keeping that light body kind of nice and present, and maybe when you go to sleep tonight, or you're in the bath, or you're doing something nice, just keep imagining this 5-pointed star, and strengthening that light in your body. Thank you. Okay, so let's dive into what a Venus star point is. I came across Venus star points maybe about 4 years ago with Phoebe, who I'm hoping will join as well at some point. But someone told us about Venus star points, and we were Gene Key's friends, and we were in a Delta group together. We flew quite a lot of deltas together, and then we discovered that we had our Venus star point in the same place, in the 41st gene key. And it was like, wow, it was a real wow moment. And This 41st gene key is the start codon. So you might say it's the receptor of what the cosmos is giving to us in terms of new coding and new information. The 41st gene key is kind of really key in that. And I think most of us will probably have the 41st gene key somewhere in this configuration of energies. So, but even if you don't, it doesn't matter because you're going to receive it anyway. So that was like my introduction, and I've been pretty interested in it. And some of the people here did the group, which I joined their group after. So I wanted to do it as well. And it's really great that a few of you have joined, and we'll do it again. Okay, so this is kind of my understanding of it. And there's other people here who are also knowledgeable about it. So you can jump in and say anything, being aware that it's a recording. So if you want to not be on the recording, you need to say what you want to say at the end. If you come in sort of now, then okay, so I'm screen sharing. And that isn't the beginning, so let me go back. So what's been coming into my kind of imagination is both the five-pointed star geometry, but also over 8 years, Venus will create the shape of a rose in the heavens. So it's a really, really beautiful geometry. And if you Google it, you'll come up with the little things that show you how this rose is created. And I was really receiving this kind of feeling of Neptune, who's actually a higher octave of Venus, going into the 25 as being really important in this process of this rose energy of universal love. It's quite a detached kind of love, actually, and it can really help us, in my experience, of dealing with people who we find challenging and difficult, because the love is sort of there for everyone in this universal love. It's quite a nice one. And I actually use it with my partner a bit to be more detached, actually, and love him no matter what's going on. So we've got Neptune in 25. We've also got Pluto in the 41, which is the new coding. So Pluto coming into the 41st gene key. This all happened in April. It's an immensely powerful energy of new coding for the Aquarian age. And this is what I feel that we are receiving through doing this process. I don't really know what is going to happen. So I'm really interested in our contemplations and what actually starts to unfold. And then we also had the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, which was the splitting apart, simplifying quintessence energy. And I feel that's really important because it's almost like our geometry is clearing out so that we have this almost like pristine, crystalline precision energy body. And then the physical will start to kind of, it's the light body that will give the physical body the information it needs in order to make the mutation less stressful for our bodies, because we are in this incredible period now leading into 2027 of biological mutation. So it feels like this Venus is giving us a gift to make it easier. And it really ties in with the next Venus star point coming, which will be on I think it's the 3rd, 4th of June. depending on which country we're in. And the Gemini energy feels like it's very light and airy, and it's gonna really take us into something really beautiful. So we're in Leo at the moment. That was the last Venus star point, was Leo. So we've been developing this creative self. And as we go into Gemini, it's all going to be about the geometry of the causal mind body. So I'll say a bit more about that. So just to say, Venus star points were created or discovered, whatever you want to call it, or this system that we're using, by Ariel Gutman, who is, I think she's an Australian astrologer. And so she has a website called Sophia Venus, and you can watch her YouTube videos that will pretty much give you some of this information. But because we're doing it through the gene keys, actually, I don't think anyone else has particularly done that apart from Tina doing that with some of you here. And I think it's a really amazing way to explore the Venus star points. You know, it gives another layer to the whole thing. Okay, so so we have two types of conjunctions of the sun, and the Venus star point is when Venus and the sun are at the same point in the zodiac. That's what a conjunction means. So the first type is the superior conjunction, just giving very simple visuals. And this is sort of telling you how the car works. So if it's a bit too much, you don't have to know this really, but I think it's really interesting. So here is the Earth, is the purple one. The two planets between us and the sun are Mercury and Venus. So Venus, if she was this side, would be here. But in this conjunction, she's on the far side of the sun, and this is where she is right now. So she will disappear for 3 to 4 months when she goes behind the sun. And from ancient times, astrologers have seen this as her going into the underworld. And Mercury does that as well. And if you've been following with me, the descent of Inanna into the underworld, which follows the Venus cycle, then this is when Venus meets her dark sister Ereshkigal, and there's this unity potential of the shadow self with the higher consciousness self. Yeah, so that's a really interesting narrative, and one that comes to me in this sort of spiraling of St. Michael and Lucifer falling to earth, Lucifer's morning star, and then they becoming deeply embodied in the Earth's energy field and in our energy field. So this conjunction, when Venus reappears from behind the sun, it will be in the evening, and this is begins the evening star phase. And then there's what's called the inferior conjunction of the sun. So this is much shorter time, a few weeks. We can't see Venus because she's obscured by the light of the sun. So there's, it's almost like if we're born in this phase, it's like Venus is consumed almost by the light of that sun. In this phase, Venus is always retrograde, and she has a 40-day retrograde cycle. Kind of in this kind of 18-month period, there's always a 40-day retrograde. There's always, I think, so many interesting connections to Christ consciousness in that 40-day period being important. And this always leads to the morning star phase. So when Venus reappears on the other side, then she will be seen in the dawn sky. So our own Venus star points are about love, beauty, values, and nature. So part of why we're doing this is we're inviting the Venus energies to be more present in ourselves. So this is a bit of a complicated bit. I find it complicated. I'm hoping it, yeah, I find it complicated. But I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. But if you get a bit lost at this point, don't worry. So the Venus-Sun conjunction before we were born is our main one. That's what's called our main Venus star point, and it's the head point that we just created. So if in the chart I'm going to show you, your Venus is retrograde, then your Venus star point is retrograde, you were born in the morning star phase. And if you were, if it was direct, then you're born in the evening star phase. The second prenatal point before birth is the right hand. The third prenatal point is the right foot. The first Venus star point after you were born is the left or receiving foot, and the second post-birth is the left or receiving hand. And probably that won't make any sense to you until I show you the graph. Just wanted to say something about reciprocity, because this is all about giving and receiving. About 10 years ago, I did this quite interesting Pachacuti Meza online. It was actually online, and I didn't know how it was going to work, but it worked pretty well, actually. Peruvian shamanic course. And at the heart of many of indigenous people's wisdom is reciprocity. And at this point, I kind of realized quite starkly how I grew up in South Africa, which is kind of a white Western culture in many respects. And most of us who grew up in a Western country, we really conditioned just to take, take from the earth, especially, and not give back. But then there's another dynamic, which is as women, we're taught to give, and take nothing back. So we kind of have the possibility of two corruptions of our capacity to give and receive. And this is an invitation really to really notice those patterns in yourself as you go through this. How good are you at receiving, and how good are you at giving? How does that relate to your family of origin, your culture, your religious ideas, your sense of yourself? Lack of self-worth can be really profoundly at the heart of this energy imbalance. And I kind of feel, actually, at a personal and collective level, that if we sorted out reciprocity imbalance, everything else would actually sort itself out, because it feels like it's at the heart of all conflict, all suffering. Is somewhere in there, someone's not giving and someone's not receiving. And another level I've kind of been exploring this in the past few years is the kind of hospitality. Like, I didn't have a home for a while, and so many people opened their homes to me and invited me to stay. So there's this thing about being a good guest, like brings a gift, and and then being this house I live in here, lots of people come and visit us because we live by the sea, basically. So then being a good host as well. So I think, many spiritual traditions, hospitality is actually seen as like a spiritual thing. So that's another an invitation to kind of explore in yourself, being a guest and being a host. Okay, so just say a bit about, this is just an invitation. You can do this any way you like, but the contemplation of your gene key for each week could be you read the Gene Keys book, you listen to the audio, you just notice how the shadow, the gift, even the city playing out in your life, and you pause in that contemplative way when you feel the shadow energy coming up, that you really pause to be with it, breathe with it, journal, and really notice the patterns of like how is giving and receiving may be related to this particular shadow pattern. If you're into the mudras, which you can buy for about $30, the whole program, that immediately doing the mudra will just take you straight into the higher frequency of your gene key that you're contemplating. If you're quite new to this idea of contemplation, or even if you're not new to it, but you don't actually do it, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I haven't actually been pausing. So, there's a really lovely Art of Contemplation free videos. They're quite short. And also, if you're into the, if you have the 7 Sacred Seals program, this really feels like a transmission of Sacred Seal 6, which is the 63rd gene key. It actually talks about this light body geometry that I was perceiving. And then it's like my intuition said, listen to Sacred Seal 6. It was like, oh my God, this is it, the causal mind body and all of that. And then Sacred Seal 3, which is the 25th gene key of universal love, which, as I said before, Neptune is activating. And we're kind of in a good vessel. I know Danny and Tyra aren't here, but they will be doing this with us. They're the yoga teachers on Gene Key on Soul Tribe, and they both actually have the 63rd gene key as their culture sphere. So it feels like them being in the field is kind of really helpful, actually. On Soul Tribe, we're doing this Kirtan Kriya, developing brain plasticity and cleanse. So that can help enhance this process. And this mushroom lion's mane, that kind of comes into my intuition, but obviously you need to follow your own intuition. But lion's mane really helps the brain kind of open up and have this incredible things going on with this mushroom. Okay, so, and we're heading towards the Venus star point, which I mentioned in June, which is called, it's Gene Key 35, line 4, and it's called Miracles and Wormholes. And it feels like the geometry of this is a wormhole. That's how I'm seeing it. So we're going to hit the Venus star point, having actually created a wormhole to higher states of love through the mind. And the 35 leads from the shadow of hunger to the gift of adventure and the city of boundlessness. I love that gene key. It's so cool. Okay, so I did this for Tara, and I'm going to show you the program in a sec. So, so her head gene key is also this gene key 41, the same as me and Phoebe. Be interested. Did anyone else say they had the? I'll look afterwards. Can't see it right now because I'm screen sharing. Her receiving hand is gene key 1, line 1. her receiving foot is Jinky 59, line 4. The giving foot is 12, line 5. And the giving hand is 51, line 5. So I'm going to look at Tara on the program now, and you'll see how I got these. I'm not going to spend much time doing this because I'm actually happy to do it for anyone who, I think I have actually already done it pretty much for everyone. Find your Venus star point. Right. So this is available online from Ariel Gottman's website, and it's sophiavenus.com. But if you put in find your Venus star point, this will come up. Okay, so I was just going to look at Tara's. Okay, so she's born on the 2nd of December, 1974. I've got some new glasses, by the way. You can check them out. Okay. So we're going to go, so you go to the place in the document where you were born. Yeah, so let me see if I can open that up a bit. Okay, so she's born on, as I say, the 2nd of December, 1974. Okay, so the first one is the head, is the one just before you were born. And this is, for her, 3 degrees Aquarius, 30 minutes. So that is where I'm getting, and that's Gene Key 41. That is where I'm getting my information from, and where you can get your information from. The second prenatal point is the right hand. So where were we? 74. So that's 19 Aries 47 would be her right hand. I can't remember what the gene key is for that. And then the third one before is the right foot, and that's 26 Gemini. So I've looked up what gene keys these are. Okay, and then the first after birth is the left hand. So that's going to be 13 Scorpio 44. And the first after birth, the second after birth is the left foot, and that will be 3 Virgo 38, which I happen to know is Jinky 59. So that's pretty much it. If that doesn't mean anything to you, like, don't worry about it, because I'm happy to do that. So yeah, so does anyone want to, I'm going to stop the recording now, and does anyone want to jump in and say what the experience of this is? Have I done it right? That's the big question. Hopefully I did it the same way as you did last time. Yeah, anything really. Stop.